To really understand, we have to go back to 1910, when Korea was colonized by Japan and spent the next 35 years under its brutal military occupation. After Japan's defeat in World War II, the Allies kicked it out of Korea and then divided the country into two along the 38th parallel. The USSR took control of the north, and the US controlled the south. Then, in 1950, the Soviet-backed Kim Il-sung regime invaded the south to reunify the country by force and impose communist rule throughout the peninsula. That kicked off the Korean War, the first active military hostilities of the Cold War. Newly communist China sent soldiers to back the north, while the US led UN forces to defend the south. More than 2 million people died during the war. And the US dropped more bombs and napalm on the north than it did in the Pacific Theater during World War II, a fact that North Koreans still haven't forgotten. The fighting ended in 1953 with an armistice agreement between the UN command led by the US and North Korea and China. And prisoners of war were exchanged here on this bridge. But there was never a peace treaty, which means the countries are still technically at war. And everybody here is very aware that things could turn on a dime and have devastating consequences. Life for the 25 million North Koreans living behind me means being shut out from the rest of the world with no safe option to leave. Attempting to defect by crossing this border is suicide with its high-voltage electric fencing and more than 1 million landmines. Those who have managed to escape have done so by taking treacherous journeys through the mountains into China. The DMZ is a scary place, but there's also a lot of weird pettiness that goes on over here. Behind me over there is North Korea's propaganda village that it built in the 1950s to show off to South Korea and possibly lure people from here over there. Although as far as we know, no one actually took the bait. But when South Korean villagers here recently renovated their houses in 2015, North Korea responded by repainting the buildings of their propaganda village to make them a bit more colorful. And when South Korea put up a large flag, North Korea responded with an even bigger one. And sometimes these petty games get musical. Right now you can hear South Korea blasting K-pop music into the north. And North Korea responds by blasting their own propaganda this direction. Both sides basically trying to drown each other out. This is a mock tunnel representing one of the 4 invasion tunnels that North Korea carved into bedrock. I can't actually show you the real one behind me because filming isn't allowed, but it's wide enough to allow tens of thousands of North Koreans to invade the south and actually reach Seoul. There's thought to be at least 20 more that South Korea and the US are still searching for. But the bigger concern now are attacks from above, namely North Korea's missiles and nuclear weapons.